need divine permission of any kind. Second, Christianity says you should love your neighbor as yourself, a masochistic abjection of the human, saying that you have to love people as much as you love yourself and your own family, something that you actually cannot do and probably shouldn't. Third, on your point about democracy and equality, again, you're addressing the question to the wrong person. You should be talking to all the Christians who for years took the view adopted by St. Paul, the actual founder of the Christian religion, that the powers that be are ordained of God, and that came up with the divine right of kings, the very thing from which the American Revolution broke away. Christianity has always been officially and ideologically on the side of the rich and powerful. And its propaganda about the poor is only a cynical exploitation of populism to disguise that self-evident fact.
Would you include American Christianity in that charge?
Well, no, because the United States government is forbidden to establish a state church to praise its...
I understand, but the Christianity that's evolved in the United States of America, and it's many different forms.
Well, the Christianities, I mean, yes, right. But I mean, it's, again, the problem is for them, not for me. I mean, here are people who are even now arguing among themselves, is a Mormon really a Christian?
But you see,
Catholics really allowed to read the Bible?
Christopher, what I'm talking about is your charge that Christianity has always been on the side of the rich and powerful, and this alleged compassion for the poor is basically a fraud. Do you not see that in the history of American Christianity, despite what you argue in your book, was an important factor in the civil rights movement? It certainly was an important factor in the anti-slavery movement, both in the U.S. and in Great Britain.
Well, I do, of course, it's a historical fact that there were important Christian preachers who were opposed to slavery and to segregation, but one should hope that eventually a few of those would emerge, because slavery and segregation were imposed in the name of Christianity to begin with.
Well, William Wilber...
All this proves, Michael, is my central contention in my book, that religion is man-made. You can say, well, Jesus is on my side and I'm a liberal, or you can say Jesus is on my side and I'm a fascist. And as far as I'm concerned, it's nothing to do with me how to decide that argument. There was no such person as Jesus. There is no such preachment that can be adduced. There's no supernatural support to be found for any political position.
Wait.
In the case of the civil rights movement...
Christopher, back up for one moment. Did I hear you correctly? You don't believe that Jesus existed as a human being?
No. At least I've been shown no compelling evidence that he ever did.
I mean, the fact that he is recorded in contemporaneous Jewish and Roman sources doesn't persuade you that such a person existed?
He barely appears in any such material, and
he does appear.
Very hard to call it contemporary.
Okay.
No, I think he's not a figure in history in the way that, say, unfortunately, the Prophet Muhammad is a figure in history, though that's more dubious than people realize. As well, he's more a figure in history in the way that King Arthur is a figure in history. It's all second-hand, it's all plagiarism, it's all hearsay, and it's all
Josephus.
Gospels.
There's that interpolation in Josephus. There's a fraudulent bit of Josephus, which is very nearly contemporaneous, but there are also authentic mentions of Jesus existing as a human being. You see, this is the kind of absolutism, it seems to me, on your part, that you would decry if a religious spokesperson were guilty of it. We'll be right back with Christopher Hitchens, author of
412.
34 minutes after the hour on the Michael Medved Show. I'm still reeling from Christopher Hitchens' declaration that Jesus didn't exist as a human being, let alone, I mean, of course, when he's the author of a book called God is Not Great, How Religion Poisons Everything, you know he's not a Christian believer. But to claim that this individual never walked the earth...
Oh, no, wait, Michael.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm saying that there's not that it's the same as the argument about the existence of God. I can't prove there is no God. I can say the evidence for him is wholly unpersuasive. The evidence for even for the existence of a charismatic Jewish preacher in Palestine at that period is very fragmentary, very second-hand, very contradictory, and very rumor-based, and from the oral tradition. The written evidence, as you know, is practically negligible, but that's not... A Christian doesn't say, I believe he existed. A Christian claims to know all about it, claims to know how and where he was born and of a virgin, how and where he died or didn't die and was resurrected. These are things that it's not possible for anyone to know. And all I'm claiming here is that extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence, instead of which the more extraordinary the claim, the less evidence there is for it. I'm sorry. I think that just will not do, given that people who believe it claim the right to tell me what my morals and actions ought to be.
But you see, this goes back to the argument you were making before. Do you not claim the right to tell people what they ought to believe?
No.
Well, what's your entire book then?
My book is a very strong statement of my own convictions.
Yes, but it's also an attempt to persuade people of your conviction, to persuade people that their notion that Judaism or Christianity or Islam might be true.
It's quite different from saying that my beliefs must be taught in school or must be part of legislation, or that those who don't agree with me will be subject to a terrible and unending punishment.
Okay, now where have you last heard an American Christian leader say that Christianity must be taught in school?
Well, I hear them all the time saying that God has been banished from the classroom, and we're regularly oppressed with attempts to teach a version of the creation myth in place of science. The courts and the school boards are regularly pestered by this nonsense, and the president himself has said that he thinks that the argument should be taught where there is, in fact, no argument between creationism and natural selection.
Okay, again, you're conflating creationism with intelligent design, which you do.
No, I'm not. The intelligent design is a propaganda smarmy term. I refuse to use the term intelligent design because it sounds intelligent. It's the only smart thing about it. It's creationism under another name, having nothing to do with it.
Okay, so do you believe that Darwinism then is beyond challenge?
Darwinism was only the first theory of evolution by natural selection. There are many disputes among evolutionists about exactly how it occurred, but that it occurred, there is no doubt. It is the...
Right, and by the way, intelligent design advocates...
and it's testable.
Intelligent design advocates do not deny the occurrence of evolution. You believe that evolution is continuing to occur with human beings, yeah?
The evidence is that our brains are continuing to evolve. Yes, I certainly hope that that's true.
Okay, so...
It probably won't come in time for us.
If that is the case, then clearly something that is maladapted, something that harms people, a characteristic, if you will, that is terribly ill-considered for the human race, would be selected out. How then do you explain the persistence of religious faith, you could even say the efflorescence of religious faith, in our own time, if this is so damaging to the people who hold religious points of view?
Well, there's a very interesting argument about that, which you can find better expressed in another book by Daniel Dennett, called Breaking the Spell, Religion as a Natural Phenomenon. He says, for example, like me, he's an atheist, but he says that in earlier times there may well have been people for whom religion, for example, is the only form of healthcare. That you might not actually get better if you went to the witch doctor, but you might think you were going to. And we do know, and it is in fact a precept of medical science, that morale, the psychological state, has an influence on recovery, so that by a small, marginal, but definite result, believing and praying and going through the ceremonies might actually help you get better. That's one example.
So then religion doesn't poison everything?
Yes, it does.
Well, if it poisons everything...
That's exactly what's holding people up from, and always has prevented them from, seeking actual cures. This is what people did when they didn't know there was a germ theory of disease.
Okay, but religion...
Microorganisms, nowhere mentioned in the Bible, by the way, as part of the nature over which we're given dominion, were discovered, the church made strenuous efforts to stop people from acting as if these things could be treated, because once people stop believing that disease is a curse...
All right, we'll be right back with Christopher Hitchens, author of God Is Not Great.
More of Michael Medved in a moment.